Part 13, The Volunteer Lifeline. How Unpaid People Quietly Held Up a Collapsing System, by Canadian Citizens Journal. The system pretends volunteers are extras. In reality, they were holding it together. On paper, long-term care facilities describe volunteers as companions, activity helpers, and social supports. Brochures make it seem as though volunteers are there to add joy and color to an already strong system. In reality, volunteers were quietly filling the gaps of a system that was already collapsing. They were not an add-on. They were a lifeline, and when that lifeline was removed, residents paid the price. Who were the volunteers? Across long-term care and assisted living homes, volunteers included family members helping with meals, toileting, or calming distressed residents, students in PSW, nursing, or social work programs completing unpaid placements, community members offering help out of compassion or faith, retired people visiting lonely residents. They did not come to replace staff. They came to help, but the system quietly began to depend on them. What volunteers actually did, behind the glossy language, volunteers were often helping residents eat when staff were overloaded, sitting with residents who were confused or frightened, escorting residents to activities or bathrooms, preventing wandering and falls, providing emotional support and conversation, offering small but essential assistance staff no longer had time for. In many homes, volunteers were the only reason. Some residents finished their meals. Some residents received social contact. Some residents felt seen as human beings. They filled the spaces where the system had quietly disappeared. Volunteer dependence is a symptom of system collapse. When a long-term care home cannot function safely without unpaid labor, that is not community involvement. That is structural failure. It means staffing levels are inadequate. Workloads are already beyond safe limits. The model depends on people who can leave at any time. Basic care is no longer guaranteed by paid staff. Volunteers were never meant to hold essential pieces of resident safety. Yet they did. When volunteers disappeared, the truth emerged. During restrictions and lockdowns, many homes banned or restricted volunteers and family visitors. On paper, this was for safety. In practice, it exposed something else. Residents who relied on family help at meals stopped eating properly. Residents who depended on volunteer company became more depressed or confused. Staff, already overwhelmed, now had to cover everything. Mealtimes became rushed and unsafe. Residents once calm with familiar faces became agitated or frightened. The absence of volunteers revealed how fragile the system truly was. What looked like care had been a patchwork of overworked staff supported by unpaid helpers. Remove the unpaid helpers, and the structure collapsed. Volunteers saw what was really happening, but had no power. Volunteers witnessed residents waiting too long for help, rushed or missed care, unsafe transfers, staff crying from exhaustion, residents losing weight, food being refused, confused residents wandering or calling out, but they had no union air, no whistleblower protections, no meaningful complaint process, and no control over staffing or funding. If they spoke up, they were often ignored, brushed off, or quietly discouraged from returning. The people who saw the collapse most clearly were the people with the least ability to intervene. The emotional cost to volunteers. Many volunteers and family helpers left facilities feeling guilty, helpless, worried, traumatized. Some understood the truth no one wanted to say out loud. If I do not come in, my loved one will not eat properly. If I am not there, they will be alone and confused. This is not volunteering. This is emotional burden, created by underfunding and understaffing. How volunteer loss feeds the MAID pipeline. When volunteers disappear or burn out, residents lose social contact, encouragement to eat and drink, someone who notices when things are wrong, emotional and spiritual support, reminders that they are loved and valued. What follows? Increased loneliness, increased depression, more weight loss, more failure to thrive labels, more palliative classifications, more conversations about MAID. Not because the resident's illness changed, because the support system around them collapsed. Volunteer absence does not just create sadness. It creates eligibility. Volunteers mask the true cost of care. As long as unpaid people sit with residents, help feed them, keep them safe in hallways, cover essential daily tasks, governments and corporations can say, residents are receiving the care they need. We are meeting standards. Everything is fully staffed. But these claims are only possible because volunteers are quietly doing work the system refuses to fund. This allows budgets to stay low. It allows profits to stay high. It allows politicians to pretend nothing is wrong. Residents and workers carry the consequences. Without volunteers, the collapse would be impossible to deny. If every volunteer and family helper walked out tomorrow, the truth would be undeniable. Residents would sit alone, meals would go unfinished, falls and injuries would increase. Staff would break under pressure, the system would fail, publicly and spectacularly. Volunteers are the invisible scaffolding holding up a building that should have been rebuilt long ago. This is not an attack on volunteers. It is a defense of them. Volunteers are not the problem. They are some of the only people in the system acting out of love, compassion, and genuine concern. The problem is a long-term care system that depends on unpaid labor to cover essential care, hides behind volunteer presence to claim everything is fine, offers no protection when they speak up, abandons residents when volunteers can no longer carry the load. What Canadians need to understand: when you hear someone say they are grateful for volunteers, translate it to this: we cannot function safely without unpaid people doing work the system refuses to fund. Volunteers were never supposed to be the backbone of long-term care. But in Canada, they became exactly that. And when that backbone cracks, residents slide faster toward decline, palliative labels, and ultimately MAID.